Hello, good evening and welcome to this Wednesday night FB4 Daily. It is brought to you, of course, by Paddy Power. It's a bookies, it's a website and it's an app. If you gamble, please gamble responsibly and try to do so with Paddy Power, with specials on Liverpool, on football, on sports, on everything. You know what to do. Get the Paddy Power and put your bets on there. Tonight's show is going to... Look, we have to talk about Mourinho being appointed Spurs manager. Although we are a Liverpool podcast, it is a massive deal. So we're going to definitely talk about that. We're going to start looking ahead to Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park on Saturday. And look, anything else that comes in between, we'll have a go at. Random questions are always welcomed. So throw them in there as well. My guest tonight is, look, he's a brilliant guest. We've had him on this is probably his third or fourth time on. I enjoy having him on every time he's here. I nearly forgot to message him today and he was so nice about it. He just went, yeah, no problem. See you at 10 o'clock. It is, of course, Jim Fishlock. Jim, how are you, my man?
Hi, mate. Yeah, I'm really good. Glad to be back on. Like I said to you before we started recording, I was, you can't not think about football at the moment. With it was a great night for Wales last night. Just got to get that in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And obviously with Mourinho, the Mourinho news. So, it's always great to chat football and great to have a chat with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of people in the chat room already. But Barry says Buenos Nachos or something along them lines. Barry again says good evening. Chris says good evening. Traz says good evening. And Barry Carr says we are not in for Son. Massive breaking news there from Barry. Look, the thing, Jim, we were having a little chat about this before we came on live and stuff like that. And we are saying... Jose Mourinho, and I just said to you, what do you think? And you said, I think it's brilliant. Discuss.
I do. I just think this is a guy that, his record speaks for itself. And, you can say he does 3 year, first year he builds, second year he wins stuff, third year he explodes. Yeah, okay, he does do that. You can't disagree with that assessment of his career, in his most recent clubs. But this is a guy, a proven winner. He's won all around the world. He's won in different eras. His first Premier League was 2004, 2005. He won it again then. He's won Champions Leagues. He's won championships in different leagues. He's beaten the very greatest side, probably, of recent times in that Barcelona team when he was with Real Madrid. He beat them to the league. He has done some terrible things, both away from football in terms of his conduct on the sidelines, some of the things he said. Yeah, he throws players under the bus. I get that. But this is a guy that at this moment in time, right now, today, for somebody that needs to get Tottenham where they need to be, which has got to be top 4, I think, by the end of the season, there is nobody else out there. He's not contracted to a club. He's available. He's keen as anything to get back in. There is no other British team and Premier League team that he probably could go to, unless you're talking lower levels of the league, which is not going to happen where he is in his career at the moment. So this is a guy with plenty to prove. He's had a break. Like you said to me, Gav, he sounds great and slightly different on Sky Sports. And I couldn't agree more with that assessment of him. He does sound like this break has done him good. And he's probably reassessed the best way to be successful in modern day football.
Yeah, no, we did have that little chat, Jono says, I'm sorry, I don't get the Mourinho love. Some people saying this laughed at him when at the United train wreck. Jono saying there that the Mourinho titles from 2010, what good is that in 2019? I think that's the point me and you are going over, before the show. To me, it just felt like slightly... Now, I don't know whether he could have, like I said to you, he could have stayed over in Abu Dhabi or wherever he was with Keys and Gray, but he got himself into the proper Premier League limelight by joining on at Sky. Now, I'm sure he was given a good load of money for it. But when he was talking in studio, he seemed a lot more relaxed. He seemed a lot more open. And the way he spoke about the game, it didn't sound like the Mourinho of old to me. I don't know whether the United the whole debacle at United was a shock to the system for him, where he felt, I can go to a massive club and I'll just be successful. I think the politics were in that club, and certain restraints maybe put on him, maybe just jolted him back into life, and thought, when I take this break, I have to come back different. Because a lot of people have thrown this accusation that the game has passed him by, to a certain extent. But I just think he just did sound a bit different, especially when he was talking about Arsenal and Aubameyang and, running in here and doing this and how you can get the best out of him. Where the old Mourinho will be, he needs to do this for the team, he needs to do that for the team. I think back to the time when Joe Cole had a great game for Chelsea and Mourinho just whipped him off the pitch because he wasn't doing the stuff defensively properly, that kind of way. And the other major thing for me with him is, and I'm not saying he's going to be a massive success because I don't know, time will tell, but the massive thing is it's in London and he has been based in London. And when he was at United, the rumour was he was staying at a hotel and living at a hotel, and he was turning up most days looking quite haggard in his appearance, so but just finally on him, do you think that squad suits him, Jim?
Well, just one point before we get to that question is that it's interesting to see that he's completely sort of revamped his coaching staff. And what a lot of coaches will do when they're out of work, well, I think, you have to really, because you have to, as a coach, be looking at different ways to be successful and to develop yourself consistently. They go away, they watch a lot of football, they go visit different clubs, they look at different philosophies. Now, perhaps there was an element with Jose as being so successful that he really did think to himself, well, I'm Jose Mourinho, and the way I do it is the only way, is the best way for it to be done. Given this break and to see how other teams have moved away from, let's say, his Manchester United team, so how we have overtaken them, how Tottenham have overtaken them, and how Manchester City, were streets ahead of them, there must have been a moment of reflection for him to say, do you know what? The next club I go into, I have to evolve my style of play. So I think, from Tottenham's perspective and for the Premier League, I hope that that's the case. And I hope that, they do relatively well under him, because I do like him. I'm not going to, make apologies for that. I do think he's a very, very good manager, and I think he's great for the game. But in terms of this Tottenham squad, no, I don't think it's going to work for him as it is at the moment. When I look at a couple of the defenders that they've got and a couple of players who play in midfield for him, they just do not look like Jose Mourinho type players. And I'd be very surprised if Danny Rose is still there by the start of next season. Serge Aurier, in fact, I'd be surprised if those two are there after January. Sissoko, I think, will go. Lucas Moura, perhaps, as well. I think he'll absolutely love Son. He'll love Ndombele. Hopefully he starts getting the best out of Davinson Sanchez, because there's a couple of, he looks a really good player. And it'd be interesting to see. I wonder if he'll start playing Sessegnon, because, I think he's a decent player. So it could be an interesting time for him.
Yeah, it's just like just look, comments absolutely flying in here with regards to them. They're too fast for me to keep up with. Jono says it made no difference at Chelsea when he finished 10th. He didn't live in a hotel. Fair point, Jono. Mourinho sweet talking has filled everyone. And we forget he needs to spend money to win those trophies. Yeah, he does need to spend money, but we'll have to wait and see with the money, because that's the one concern for me. Chris Brack says if he's given a small budget, put money on Gav's call from last night, he'd sell Kane for 200 million and bring in four good players. I think it's a possibility. I just think the ego thing might be a massive clash. Owen Neil says Spurs Amazon documentary could be amazing to watch with him in charge now. It absolutely could.
Yeah, that's a great shout. That is.
Barry says we would want Spurs to catch the top four. That could pull back one of Chelsea or Leicester. Yeah, they have to be. Jono says Jim sounds like a Spurs fan. No, he's not. He just look. I think
I'm definitely not.
No, he's definitely not. I think Jim is just looking at it from probably a coaching point of view, and the background you have, Jim, watching what another coach does. It's probably the biggest thing for you, rather than the pantomime around it. But look, we'd have to wait and see on him. I did say this morning I'd love to get the odds on Jose Mourinho not lasting 100 days of sports, because I think it'd just be classic Mourinho to go in there and say, I was lied to, and then just say, listen, give me all my money, I'm out of here. And he did mention, this squad of players and the academy is really exciting to work with. Now, when he said the word academy, I nearly fell out of my standing. I'm going to be honest with you, because he just doesn't do academies, does he?
No.
Owen says he's heard Mourinho is on double the wages Klopp is on, which is mental. I don't know what Klopp is on, but I think the money they're talking about Mourinho is 15 million. The curious one for me on that is that he's been given a 4-year deal, which usually means he'll go on after 3 and get about 8 million out of that 15 million in his pocket when he's relieved of his duties after 3 and he gets bored. But look, I hope he's a disaster just from a footballing side, and Spurs go away for a little bit. That's just me being I don't know if the word's pathetic or just being, just being a Liverpool fan. Look, we'll move away from it. So anybody who wants to comment on Mourinho, keep commenting if you want. I'll try to pick up a few, but random questions are the ones we want. We have got 20 to 30 minutes left in the show, and we are imploring you to give us random questions. I'm going to make it the fourth rule of this show that random questions must be regularly put in here. So if you're going to put a football comment in or 2 football comments in, for every 2 you put in, put a random question in. That's the rule from now on. If you can keep to that, that would be absolutely sweet. If you don't, I'm not going to really do anything because I can't. But look, moving away from it, we have a game on Saturday, 3 p.m. Jim, and not that I find this game funny, but what I am finding funny now is we're making excuses every week as to why we just could keep playing that 11 that won the European Cup, because for some reason or other this game is the biggest game of all time, and it's just going to be like that, isn't it, for the next 26 league games left to start. It's just going to be like that, Jim, isn't it? We're going to have people just we have to win this one. There's nothing where we go, we rotate it a little bit and we'll drop in Brewster here because that game. We're finding a way to make this the biggest game in our history week on week.
Yeah, I think, we have to get away from that, I think, as a fan base, because we are going to drop points. Even if we play our best team, it's inevitable. And all we're doing, I think, is ramping up the pressure. And if you're thinking 26 games to go in the league, that's without Champions League games, without obviously World Cup, World Challenge Cup, or whatever it's called, games, and the Carabao Cup that we're still in. It's a lot of football. So I think inevitably changes are going to have to be made. Players will drop out of form, players will get tired, and players will be injured. I think Robertson and Salah are doubtful for Saturday anyway. So there will be changes. We have to trust that the players who are going to come in are going to do a good job. And, with all due respect, yes, Andy Robertson is the best left-back in the world. And yes, Mohamed Salah is one of the best forward players in the world. But that Liverpool team and that squad should be able to win on Saturday if those two are not available.
Yeah, do you know what? Like, I was listening to the Cop Table podcast just before this one, and Jay Riley was saying that he was worried because Zaha gave Milner an awful time at Anfield last season, to the point where Milner gets sent off. But on the other side of that, he was saying, look, he hasn't trained properly for 2 weeks, but he's played all our games. He's had what will be 2 weeks rest now. It'll be 13 days rest. He fully expects Robertson to play. The only worry for me is, Jim, and I'm with you, I've said it, and people will back me up when I say this, I want to use our squad as much as we can from August to keep ourselves as fresh as we can and make the changes when we need to make them and at the right time to keep us nice and fresh, because it's usually January, February where we falter that little bit and we look a bit tired. But once we get through that, we start motoring again. It's just that one position that worries me, because they will literally drop Zaha onto the right side of midfield for that whole game if Milner plays. It's just unfortunate that it's Robertson. Let me put it this way. If it was Lovren, I'd be like, we'll get away with it. If it's Henderson, which is a possibility because he has been unwell, both at Liverpool and away with England, I'd say, we get away with it. And even if Salah is out, I think, we're okay. I just don't like that full-back position being weak with their best player by a country mile liking when he plays against us. That kind of way? Yeah,
I do. But I will say this. I've seen Palace about 3 or 4 times this season, and every time I've seen them, Zaha has been their worst player.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's absolute mile.
I knew there was a reason I brought you on.
I do get the point that he obviously has caused us issues in the past, and I do take that. But one, Milner obviously could drop in there. 2, Joe Gomez could quite easily play left back. and he's defensively very good in that position. And let's not forget whoever plays in midfield, whether it be Milner on the left hand side of the three or Henderson or Wijnaldum, they're able to obviously cover as well. So I'm not overly worried about Zaha, if I'm perfectly honest, and this may come back to bite me on the arse, and if it does, I'll tip up next Monday and we'll have a conversation about it and I'll hold my hands up. But out of all the players that Palace have got that potentially could cause us a problem, he at the moment looks like he's still sulking a bit or struggling to get his head around the fact that he didn't move in the summer.
Yeah.
And he's just been terrible, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, Jono's literally said, has typed this just before you said it, and he said, in the summer, he said, no joke, we should try and get Werner in January. And in the summer, we need a backup left back. He said, Zaha this season has been trying too hard to get a move, which has hindered his form. He's literally said that as just before you've said it. So you're not alone in what you think there, and it's perked me right up thinking that Zaha hasn't been playing well. Milner was right back when Zaha did him, says Chris. Zaha prefers the left wing. Well, look, if he wants to go over there and chase Trent up and down all day, I'm absolutely fine with that. But there's no way Roy Hodgson isn't dropping Zaha from a height onto the right wing if we end up having to change Robertson out over. Random question for you, Jim. If you could bring back one deceased rock star, who would it be? I suppose rock star / musician.
I'm going to embarrass myself now because rock is not my.
Well, I'll let you with one deceased.
Deceased. God, you know what?
Singer, songwriter, whatever. Doesn't have to be rock.
God, that is a tough one. That is, music is not my sort of or modern. I prefer more modern music than.
And none of them are dead.
Answer that. No, they're all the music I like. They're all still alive.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, S Club 7 and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. One Direction. I love those guys.
I'll have to come back in 40 years and ask you that question, and then you'd be like, Zayn Malik. If that's, I think that's one of him.
Yeah, I don't like. That's the one I don't like, actually.
Okay. Somebody did say an answer there, and I have to go with it. But Chris Brack has thrown Freddie Mercury into the mix. Kev O'Sullivan says John Lennon. But somebody earlier, I think it might have been Barry, and he said the King, Elvis. Elvis would be absolutely off the charts in 2019. Like the stuff that goes on with celebrity now. Could you imagine Elvis rocking up and just deciding to do what he wanted to do? Like the media would have an absolute field day on him, but he'd have a great time. So yeah, there's your first random question. If anybody has any more, absolutely throw them in. Jim, after the international break, there's a lot made of what we like after the international break. Are we any good? Like I think the last one was we played Newcastle at home. We struggled for the first 25 minutes ish, and Firmino had to come on for Origi, and we're a different side there. We easily swept Newcastle aside despite going 1-0 down. Is it a thing you worry about? Is it an actual thing? Is probably the right question. And is it something you worry about where you go, I know he likes to have them on the training pitch in a rhythm and ready to go for matches, or is it just something that we make too much of?
I think it's definitely a thing, because you do get out of that rhythm. Training is different. Mm-hmm. Because the players that are working with Klopp and the staff, they're obviously not the first team players, so it's hard to put any work in. The players are human beings. They're traveling all around the world. They're coming back with can be different emotions, because they could be very, very disappointed with the results that have happened while they've been away, or they could be sort of overjoyed and euphoric because they've just qualified, etc. And that can be quite difficult to sort of get back up again for another game. So it is difficult. It is nice to have that period of time where you're focusing all week up to the game. It's not always obviously possible, particularly in the pro game. But yeah, I think it is a bit of an issue. But I think, with the staff that are there, the work that has gone in already, it's not as if they're coming back and they're not going to know. I'm sure there was some work towards Crystal Palace, some analysis being done, so on and so forth. And in this modern day, it wouldn't surprise me if the players who have gone away on international duty have had some sort of video package sent to them from the analysis to say, this is what they're expecting. We're expecting them to do. This is what we're expecting us to do. To be mindful and what we're going to work on when you get back to Melwood. So, whilst I do think it is a thing, it's not a thing that only we suffer from. But again, I think if we're sort of 75% and above, then we should be beating Crystal Palace regardless.
Yeah, no worries. There's a shout in there for Bob Marley. A couple of people did say Lennon and stuff like that. Chris Brack says, would you rather fight one duck the size of a horse or 10 horses the size of ducks?
That's a lot of legs, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm taking on the duck-sized horse.
Yeah, I'm taking on the duck-sized horse. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. Just one thing is the easiest thing to is the easiest thing to fight, I think. Sorry, somebody corrects me there and says that we actually drew away 1-1 to United after the last international break. That's absolutely correct. We did draw 1-1. Kevin Sullivan says being away at lively Selhurst Park should help us. Yeah, and I like what Jim has said there as well, that they'll be filled with information, video packages, they'll know what the story is. And I think they're all back now, aren't they? I think the international stuff is done now, so they're back probably Wednesday. So they probably have 3 to 4 days, not probably on the training pitch, but back at the club where they can be given information today, train Thursday, train Friday. It's not like a Wednesday, Thursday, and then coming back, Thursday and having a day or so. They have a couple of days in there. Barry Carr's giving you a name there for a musician that's died. He said Avicii. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a good one. There
you
can
have Avicii.
Yeah, I love that one. Thank you.
Great stuff. Thanks to Barry for that one. Barry said he'd rather fight 10 ponies. I don't know. Barry also says Leslie Nielsen. I don't know if you can get away with that. I really don't. If you could bring a comedian back from the dead, mine would be Kenny Everett.
I would go for that as well.
There's one that's in my head.
Oh, I tell you, John Candy. I don't know if he was like a stand-up comedian or just a comedic actor.
Yeah,
but
I'll give you a comedic actor as well.
I love him. There we go.
Yeah. There was another one. Was it Bill Hicks?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, that name is in my head, and I remember. I think he's dead. I hope. Well, Jesus, not that I hope he is, but if I'm making him dead for the wrong reasons, I'm sorry. Traz says, do you know anyone that's ever had their arm broken by a swan? No, I don't. I've
heard of it. I don't know if that's an urban myth though.
Yeah, I've heard of it. Traz says Bill Hicks every time. It is Bill Hicks. I've seen one, I think, of his stand-up shows, and he was off the wall. Northred says Tommy Cooper. So, look, if we've any other random questions, throw them in. We're past raising all the dead people. There's enough people on the planet. We can't keep bringing everyone back as well. But look, going back to the football, what way do we approach this? Do we, it's away, it's at Palace. I like the 3 o'clock kickoff. I said this yesterday. I'd rather that than a 12:30 or a 5:30 or late on a Sunday or even a Monday night. I like the 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock feels like it won't be as lively as it would be at the other kickoffs, the kind of way. But do we approach this like we approach most games, Jim? Do we say to ourselves, we're a better side, let's go out, let's keep the ball, let's play our game, let's quieten that crowd, let's hopefully get an early goal and take it from there? Because I don't like the thoughts of getting to 70-75 with a game in the balance.
No, I agree. I think we pick a team that's good enough to win it. So I think the back four pretty much will pick itself. I expect Oxlade-Chamberlain to start, Fabinho in there, and then depending on which way he wants to go, Henderson or Wijnaldum. I mean, Wijnaldum, he's had a great international break, hasn't he? So he'll be coming back full of confidence. And I just think we play our game. I think Crystal Palace will let us have the ball. I saw an interview with Roy Hodgson when they were playing Leicester, and he said, we're not a counter-attacking team, and we play good football, etc. And he's just completely deluded, because if he's not setting them up to play counter-attack football, he's coaching them wrong, or he must be coaching somebody else, because that's all they do. They drop off, they let the opposition have the ball, and they've got decent pace and decent runners from midfield. So I think we'll have a lot of the ball. I think that's when we're at our best. As long as we play at the right tempo and overload the wings with obviously Alexander-Arnold and whoever's playing left back for us, I think we'll be absolutely fine. But I think it's all going to be about our tempo. If we start playing slow and stodgy and making it easy for them to get 10 men behind the ball, then I think we are going to be at that 70-75 minute mark, looking at the bench, thinking, oh, flipping heck.
Yeah.
But if it's tempo and it's high tempo as it should be with us, then I think we could be clear by half time.
Yeah, and when you say stuff like if we come out stodgy and stuff like that, it makes me think back to the United game, because we did come out and start quite. Yeah, we didn't actually start slow in that game, but we just we went down the gears rather than up them. And then we couldn't seem to shift it back up the gears, and it affected us. And we probably could have won the game. And if it had went on another couple of minutes, we probably would have. But we just put ourselves in a position there where we're a little bit off it, and it affected us for the majority of the game. Stephen Mack, he made me laugh when he said this. He said, "I've seen a fella break a swan's arm," which I thought was really good. Nordred says, "Silence the crowd early. Time to put someone to the sword." Yeah, and the you know, it's, I suppose the goal here is to get those 3 points in place, and then you're saying to Chelsea, and you're saying to City, and you're saying to Leicester, now it's 11 and 12 points. Now you have another question to answer. You know, the kind of way, it's a massive, massive thing. Barry Carr says, "What's the ultimate ladies' drink?" It's a cosmopolitan cocktail. And it's funny you asked the ultimate ladies' drink, because I heard a barman actually in New York refer to it as that when he gave my wife a cosmopolitan cocktail in a bar. So it's, for me, it's a cosmopolitan cocktail. But Jim, if you have another one, absolutely go ahead. Probably a blue bottle of Wicked WKD.
Yes.
Something along them lines.
Flipping heck, I don't know. Maybe a white wine spritzer. Is that the ultimate? I don't know. My wife drinks red wine. So.
Gin and tonics.
Gin and tonics, maybe.
A lot of men like it now, though. A lot of men drink gin and tonics.
It's very fashionable, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's extremely dangerous if you drink too much of it. Take me word for it. And that actually happened to me in Liverpool, and John Gibbons was involved, so blame him. Traz says, "I wonder how Spurs fans will react if they don't get a result against West Ham on Saturday." Listen, they would have told you months ago they don't want Mourinho near their club, and now they're all calling him Jose, so don't worry about it. Skipper Dog says, "Pizza or pineapple on a pizza." It's a yes from him. It's an absolute and utter no from me.
I agree.
Yeah,
complete no. It's an abomination.
It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. Fruit on a pizza is just
no.
Madness.
It's a no-go. It's a no-go for me, definitely.
Madness. Traz says, "Baby sham for the drink." Okay. Kevin Sullivan says, Hope Ox and Naby start with Tua, Fabinho, Hendo, or Gini, Origi, Bobby and Manny up front. Kev made a decent point there as well. It's just gone on my screen, but I still have it. He says, "I like the idea of changes. We've a few people on 4 yellows," he thinks. VVD and Fabinho being 2 of them. And he hopes they manage he hopes they manage that so they don't both end up out at the same time. That's a fair point as well. Didn't think of it.
Yeah, that is a fair point. Yeah, that is a very good point. But you know, it's one of those where you can't. I don't think we're good enough, even with Alisson back, not to have Van der Vaart in the team to think about protecting him. And I know what Kev's saying. If he does get booked, we'll have to not play him. But you know, I'd rather give that as long as possible. And Fabinho, yeah, we protected him once. I don't think that's something we can do long term. So we're just gonna have to deal with it if it happens, I think.
Yeah, Barry Carr says the only fruit on a pizza should be the tomato sauce. That's another another conversation altogether. The cop table I think is looking for North Red, by the looks of it. So if North Red can just get onto the cop table, I think you might have won a prize. So that's the reason why they're looking for you. Jim, give me a team for Saturday.
Okay. Alisson in goals, Alexander-Arnold, Lovren, Van der Vaart.
Van Dijk.
Sorry, Van Dijk, Van der Vaart. What am I calling that? Van Dijk, sorry.
That's Spurs in your mind.
Yeah, I know. That's me being a Spurs fan. It's my favourite. Van Dijk. And I'm going to go with Joe Gomez at left back.
Okay.
And then Fabinho, Milner, Wijnaldum, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Firmino, and Mane. There we go.
Okay, so
that's what I think the team will be.
What are you doing in midfield there?
I'm going to go 4-3-3, and even though I don't like Oxlade-Chamberlain not playing in that 3, I think he'll be the 3 of Fabinho, Wijnaldum, and Milner with the Ox as well.
Playing in the front 3.
Yeah. I just think that's what he'll do. I don't particularly like it, but that's what I think the team will be.
A lot will depend on, and I suppose I'm being a little bit unfair with you asking you this on a Wednesday night when the game is 3 days away, because we will get developments on Salah, on Robertson, on Henderson and stuff like that. But just going on my gut instinct and early doors, I'll probably change this come Friday when I'm doing the preview with the Palace fan. but I think it'll be Alisson, Trent, Lovren, Van Dijk. I think Robertson will play. I think he'll go Fabinho, Wijnaldum. I think he might go Keita, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Mane, Firmino, and I think he might do something like a diamond or a 4-2-2-2. Play Keita off the left hand side. Play maybe Oxlade-Chamberlain off the right. Sorry, Keita off the left, and go with the two lads up front. That's what I go with at the moment. I can't see Salah starting if he's going around in a boot like that. 7-8 days out from a game, I just can't see it happening. So that's where it's going to be for me. Look, we'll both do early predictions on it, but look, we might change our minds before the week is out. But what's your early prediction?
3-0.
3-0.
3-0 Liverpool.
No messing around. No. I'm going to go with, and I said 4-0 against City, and people laughed. I said 4-1 against City, and people laughed at me. But I have a feeling on this one, and I'm going to go with 3-1 Liverpool. And I fancy Naby Keita to go on the score sheet for some reason or other. I don't know. Because looking at Palace, I know Sakho's out injured. I know Joel Ward has done well at right back, but if Mane gets at him, I think it could be all sorts going on. I know Van Aanholt likes to get forward, but we could really pressure them in behind if he wants to do that. But Roy Hodgson telling you that he's not a counter-attacking team. You're about to see what counter-attacking is at the weekend, Barry Carr says we're goosed without Salah. Cop yourself on, Barry. We're the best team in the world. We'll be absolutely fine. That's 30 minutes. I think we've done enough. We have got sorry, Glenna says think this is a banana skin 1-1. Come on now, Glenna. You're better than that. Kevin Sullivan says he's amazed if Salah misses out. Origi doesn't start. Shaq may be on the bench. He's only back in training. Only Fabinho, 1 yellow from a suspension, confirms Chris Brack. A yellow on Saturday is ideal, as it would keep him out of home to Brighton. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Joe Ward is injured.
Get on that. If you're going to have a bet, get on Fabinho getting the yellow card.
Yeah, Joe Ward is injured. So Chris has just thrown all the stats at me now and making a laugh of me, Jim, and a couple of people in here on the chat as well. We love you, Chris, but stop embarrassing us. No, look, that's really it. That's been the Fatback 4 Daily for this Wednesday night. I will be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Peter Smith. Peter Smith is on with me, and we'll be doing more talk on Crystal Palace. And usually when we talk with Peter, he's brilliant with the random stuff. So join us at 10 o'clock tomorrow, and we do more random stuff. Jim, thanks a million for joining us.
Pleasure, absolute pleasure. Cheers, guys.
I promise to give you more notice than about 6 hours the next time.
That'd be great.
Great stuff.
Cheers,
talk to you next week. That's it. That's the Fatback 4 Daily. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Over and out.